And we are live, guys. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome. Just let me start my presentation that I prepared for you. Hello, everyone. We are now live. Let me check if everything is fine. I'll close that. I'm hearing myself, so that's a good sign. Just let me start my presentation that I prepared for you. Hello, where is my presentation? We are now live. Let me check if everything is fine. I have to mute myself, don't I? Okay, I'm now muted in my browser here, and I think we are fine. Let me know, guys, if everything is fine. We are now live. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Kirill. Hello. We are live. Let me quickly check if everything is fine. Once again, because I don't see anyone joining. Why is that? I hope that it is fine. And now 12 are watching. Okay, so we have some people here. Please type something in the chat, because I thought that I was only me. I guess that is not the case. Thank you one more time for joining me today. Please type something in the chat so I will know that someone is here apart from me. I will show my presentation because we are going to nerd out about Home Assistant installation on Windows, Mac and Linux. I have prepared these operating systems for you. I remotely connected to them. This is my Linux setup, this is my Windows setup, and I'm using Mac, so I have the three major operating system available in front of me, and I will install Home Assistant on them using Docker. And this is what we are going to do today. Hi, hello, we have someone here. That's good. Where is my mouse? Hello there. Something. Thank you, Tony. Hello, Mike. Hello, Henrik. Greetings from Sweden. Hello. I cannot read that town or city from Sweden. Sorry about that. But it looks good. Never mind. I prepared this presentation for you because I want to cover everything that I planned today. Otherwise, I may miss something important, and I don't want to do that. And in general, we are going to cover what is written on these two slides. First, I'll start with a poll guide, and I'll start it right now in front of you. Let me move this window, and this poll will be the following. I'll just ask you, what do you want to start with? Do you want me to start with Windows? Do you want me to start with Linux or with Mac? I'll just quickly type it, and then I'll show you what we are going to do today. What to start with first? And the answer will be Windows, then Linux, and finally Mac. You should see the poll right now in your chat, and you'll be able to vote. And meanwhile, I'll explain what we are going to cover today. I'll say a few words about Docker, what it is, how, what can you do with it, and so on and so forth. Of course, I'll say a few words about Home Assistant. I will show you something about the Home Assistant analytics that is interesting and closely related to today's topic. We will double check, actually we will check the poll results afterwards, and when we have the winner, we will start with the winner first. We will have a live demo of installation of Home Assistant using Docker. We will talk about the prerequisites and we will install that Home Assistant. Then we will have our second poll. So at this point we will have 2 more operating systems left to cover, and I'll create one more poll where you can vote for the next operating system. I will show you quickly and I'll compare the current installation of Home Assistant to the other official possible installations. I will say a few words about my Home Assistant webinar. Then we will have our second demo, live demo, based on the winner from the second poll. I'll also say a few words about my Smart Home Glossary, and then we will have the last OS demo, because until this point we will have to cover the installation of Home Assistant on Windows on the first 2 operating systems. And then we will have the last demo. At this point I'll show you how to update Home Assistant using Docker, because this is not automatic. You have to do some manual steps, but I'll show you everything in details about this. And at this point I'll share what is the biggest drawback of this installation of Home Assistant. Or maybe it is not a drawback at all, but we will see that. And finally we will have some Q&A session. Let me quickly check what happened with the poll. I don't see it for some reason. Why? I have one very small screen here. Where is my poll? Strange. It seems that the poll is not visible. Oh, here it is at the top. So Windows is the winner. These are the results. Windows 67%, then we have Linux, and finally Mac. And I'll end this poll because the winner is Windows, and we will start with Windows first. Thank you for the votes. We will have our second poll later during this live stream. Hello Ivan. Hello Hans. Thank you for joining me today. We're about to start. Hello Henrik, or Henrik, sorry if I did some mistakes. And we are going to start with Windows. I'll clear this, I'll end this poll, I'll move my OBS. I'm using OBS software. It is good, but it has some bugs, guys. I don't know, did you manage to use this live stream software? But I guess there is nothing better, at least for free. It doesn't matter, this is a totally separate topic. Let's start. Few words about Docker. What is Docker? Simply said, it is a tool that makes it easy to run and manage software in isolated containers in virtual environment. So it works, so the software inside this virtual environment works the same everywhere. That means if you run, you can run any kind of software, almost anything inside Docker, and it will run the same no matter what your device is. This is having a very how to say, a lot of benefits. There are a lot of benefits of this, and we are going to use and enjoy these benefits in a minute. So simply said, Docker is available for all major operating systems, as you see in a few minutes, for Windows, for Linux, and for Mac. And you'll be able to install it, and most probably the devices that you already have support Docker, but we will talk about that later as well. Next topic, next point here is Home Assistant. What is Home Assistant? Simply said, this is the best smart home hub or system available at the moment. Period. There is nothing better. If you want to have a smart home, you better try Home Assistant. The learning curve is not, how to say, very steep, but there is a learning curve. But once you get it, you'll be totally fine. There are a lot of tutorials, a lot of videos, a lot of documentation about it. I'm constantly talking about it, and not only me, there are a lot of people talking about it, and the community is great. You can ask anything and you receive your answers very quickly, or you directly find them, because a lot of the questions are already asked and you just can get the answers. So in summary, in one sentence, Home Assistant is the best smart home system or hub available at the moment, and you better get in now, or I don't know, you miss the fun. What is Home Assistant container? This is one of the 4 official installation types of Home Assistant. So Home Assistant run inside Docker is called Home Assistant container. You may see this Home Assistant container everywhere, because this is the name of this type of Home Assistant installation. And if I open this open this link, analytics.homeassistant.io, if I open it, this is anonymous statistics that Home Assistant gathers if you run Home Assistant and if you enable some of the options inside Home Assistant. Your installation will pop up here in this anonymous statistics, and we can see here that we have almost 40,000, almost 382,000 active installations at the moment. And the second most used installation type is this Home Assistant container that we are going to talk right now. The first one is Home Assistant operating system, and it is leading by a large margin, but it doesn't matter. The second one is Home Assistant container, and it has almost 60,000 active installations at the moment. Of course, this is not the full picture, because a lot of Home Assistant installations are not opting for this anonymous statistics, so the numbers are a lot higher than this, but this is a good starting point. So Home Assistant container again means Home Assistant installed inside Docker. Where is my presentation? So I said few words about Docker and Home Assistant, and we can move forward. Poll results, I already saw them. So the winner is Windows, so I'll skip this. To run Home Assistant inside Docker, you need to have few things. The first one is capable hardware. I made a quick research before this live stream, and this research showed that close to 90% of the available laptops, desktops and servers available at the moment and produced in the last 10 years are capable of running Docker. So if you have a device bought or produced in the last 10 years, you'll be able to run Docker, and the chances are pretty high, close to 90%. So if you have any kind of computer produced in the last 10 years, you probably can run Docker. What happened with my phone? It constantly reconnects. For some reason, I used my phone as a second camera because last stream this main camera overheated, and I put my phone on a tripod just in case, but I'll remove it because constantly there is some noise from it. It doesn't matter. And this was the first requirement. So you need to have a device manufactured in the last 10 years to be able to run Docker. The second requirement is to have Docker, to install Docker. Strangely enough, to have this setup, you need also Docker. Docker is free software. Let me show you. I'll open directly my Windows PC. This is how Docker is looking like. Do you see the screen? I guess yes. Yes. This is how the Docker desktop is looking like once installed inside Windows. This is Windows version 10, but Docker is looking the same on Windows 11, Windows 7, and so on and so forth. Here on my taskbar, I have this. Where it is? Maybe I should minimize it. No. Never mind. I expected to see here one small whale like this one. Probably this is it. Yes, but it has some another icon on top. So this is a small whale carrying some containers. This is the Docker logo, and I have it here in my taskbar. And the most important thing here is resource saver mode. Engine is running. This label is very important. Engine is running. So once install Docker, and you can install it by going to docker.com. Then I did these steps in advance because the installation of Docker is not complex. It is very regular installation. You have to click next several times, but it took some time, and it asks me to restart my computer, and I don't want to waste your time with this. So I did that in advance. So I downloaded my Docker application. I start the installation. Here, this is the Docker desktop installation, and I install it. Then I restarted my Home Assistant, and then I saw this Docker desktop dashboard. It asks me to create one user, but I skipped it. The user is free. You can create one, or you can skip it and you can leave it without an user, but it's up to you. And this is how Docker is looking like. And currently the Docker engine is running, and this is the most important thing here. Once I have this installed, I can install a lot of softwares inside this Docker as containers, and Home Assistant is one of these containers available to be installed. Let me show you. I'll open my presentation again. I'm now showing you how I install Docker. I don't want to miss something, and I checked my points here on my slides, and I'll go to this backup slide. I have some backup slide, and here I have this command. This is for Windows, and I'll copy this and I'll explain what this command is doing. I hope the copy and paste of my clipboard is working, but I guess we are going to see that right now. So once you have Docker up and running inside your Windows, on the Mac, Docker is looking pretty much the same. On Linux is a little bit different, but you see that later. So inside Windows, I'll start command prompt. I'll click on the start button, and I'll type cmd, and I'll start this command prompt. This is the Windows version of terminal, and I can type commands here. And let me check if I can paste. Yes, I can paste my command from here. And this is the Docker run command. I'll explain it here because I guess it is better visible, and then I'll just hit enter. Or even better, I'll hit enter because it will going to download some images, and I'll explain what this is. As you can see, some images are starting to download, so you need internet connection just in the beginning to download the Home Assistant images. Afterwards, you can disconnect your device with the Docker from internet and it will run fine. So I copy it and paste this command inside my command prompt inside my Windows host operating system. This Docker command is doing the following. I guess I need to create one. This is one of the steps that I skipped. Create a HA folder. So I'll quickly create one. Sorry for that. It is created already. Good. So you need one empty folder before starting this command. I missed to show you that, but I already have it. Inside C, I have this HA. This can be named anything as you wish. Mine is created HA coming from Home Assistant and it is located in my C drive. And inside this folder, I'll receive my Home Assistant configuration folders. But I'll show you that in a bit later. Let me explain what this command is doing. It runs a container named HA latest. This name can be anything. You can type mine here or whatever you wish. In these quotes, you can type a name of your container. This container will be run in a daemon mode, in a background. That means you will not see the logs on the command prompt, and this switch is defining this. This is important. I'm living in Europe, Sofia. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria, and I'm here, and my time zone is this, Europe, Sofia. If you're located, and probably you're located somewhere else around the world, I saw people from Sweden and from, I forgot the rest. So let's check the other time zones. If you know what's your time zone, good. If not, you can go to Wikipedia. I'll open this link. You see my screen? Yes. Your volume seems a bit low. Is it? Please type in the chat if my volume is a bit low or it is okay. Please type in the chat. I saw this comment right now. If my volume is a bit low, I'll try to increase it somehow. I don't know how, but I'll try. Maybe from my settings, sound input. Oh, it is to the max. It is increased to the max. Never mind, type in the chat. Do you hear me well? Do you see me well? Perfect. Hans said perfect. Good. Hans said perfect. So I guess my sound is fine and I'll continue forward. What I wanted to show you guys is this Wikipedia. Okay for me, said Tony. Good, thank you. Thank you, Hans. Thank you, Tony. That is well needed, because if you don't hear me well, it will be very, very painful to stay in this stream, at least for me. The sound is very important. So I'll paste this URL in the chat right now if you want to check your current zone, because you need to paste that in the Docker command. Down here in this list, you can find your continent and your city, and you can use it. For example, let's try to find Sweden. Sweden, come on, Sweden. No, Sweden. Why I don't see? Oh, there are no. So Oslo, Europe, Oslo. So if I live here, I should copy this text and I should go to my Docker command right here, and instead of Europe Sofia, I should type Europe Oslo, like that. That way I'll set my correct time zone. If I live in New York, for example, I should type America, New York, probably. But everything is available in the link that I sent you. New York. No, there is no New York town. America, New York. Oh, there is. Here it is. America, New York. So this is if I live in America, New York. That way. Next important switch is this volume -v switch, and inside quotes I should type my empty folder that I created kind of incidentally, but I created it here. As you can see, the folder is already it have contents already, some files, configuration.yaml folders, and so on and so forth. So before starting this Docker command, you need to create one empty folder inside and to map it with the Home Assistant config folder using this command right there. So my path to this empty folder is C drive HA. Your folder can be named anything. For example, Mike or Arnold. I see Arnold in the chat. And you have to have this folder inside your C drive, inside your Windows, and the rest part of the command is not changed. This column/config should stay the same. That means map my config folder inside my Docker container to this c.mike folder. I will leave it HA because I have this folder already, and this is my folder that I chose. Next switch is this -p. This is coming from port. I'll map the default port for Home Assistant 8123 from container to outside container to the host IP. And finally, I have the URL where the Home Assistant image is located. And this last part here is very important because here I can type latest. That means I'll get the latest Home Assistant version available at the moment. I can type beta and I'll get the latest beta Home Assistant available at the moment. I can type, for example, 2023.1 and I'll get the January version from the last year of Home Assistant. So this is important. I'll leave it latest for now, but as you see later in the other operating system, I'll try beta and stable probably, or I'll show you. So this is the breakdown of the Docker run command. Generally, you don't have to change a lot of things here. You just have to select a name for your Home Assistant container. That can be anything. You have to select your time zone. If you stay with wrong time zone, the clock inside Home Assistant will be wrong. So nothing wrong will happen, but actually it can go wrong if your automation depends on the time. So you better check your time zone and populate it here in this time zone switch. An empty folder that should be typed here. And that's it basically. So you have to select a name, time zone, and empty folder. And you have to copy and paste that command inside command prompt. I'll copy and paste that in the chat. But no, I'll not paste it there. I will leave a link to this presentation in the video description so you can check it there. So you can get it from there. I will upload it somewhere in Google Drive or something like that, and you can get it from there, and you can get the code from there. If you insist to have it right now, please type in the chat and I'll paste it. I'm checking the chat from time to time, so I'll see that. Let's go back to Windows. This was my Windows installation. The Docker command is now complete. Everything is finished. And as you can see, this Docker downloaded and basically this command did everything for me, and I can only enjoy the ride. It downloaded some images from internet, it creates a Docker container, and I have now my command prompt back. And if I go to my Docker desktop dashboard, I can see a few things. Inside images, I can see that I have one image now, the one that I defined in my Docker run command. This is Home Assistant. Why it is not fully visible? This is Home Assistant latest image. It has this ID. It is currently in use. The image is created 6 days ago, and the size of this image is 2.76 gigabytes. I can eventually delete it from this icon. I can pull. Pull means download the newest version. So if I pull this in 1 month, I'll get another image, because the release cycle of Home Assistant is every month. And the next month I'll have a newer image than this, and I can pull it from here, but more on that later. That is for Home Assistant images. I also have a container. Containers in Docker are using these images, and I can have many containers using one and the same images. I will not explain further because I may confuse you. I'm not a Docker expert, but this is the basic things. I know the basics of Docker, and this is pretty sufficient for me. So Docker is a whole other topic. It is very deep, it is very capable, but if you learn the basics, you will be fine, and basics are super easy. So again, I have one image and one container. This image and containers are both created by this command that I executed earlier. Docker run -d name, time zone, empty folder, map to config folder of Home Assistant container, port and URL where Home Assistant latest image is. So I have container that is using this image that I have right now. The status is running. I have CPU percentage used of 0%. I can stop it, I can delete it, and I can show container. This is not important at the moment. And this here is this port mapping is having a link that if I click on it, I'll open localhost :8123 where Home Assistant is running. Let's check this. And yes, this is Home Assistant welcome screen, and now I can onboard myself by clicking on this button. Let me check if everything is visible, and yes, it is. Please type in the chat, do you want me to finish this onboarding wizard right now? It took 1 minute, but please type in the chat simple yes or no. If you type yes, I'll click on this. If you type no, I'll skip it and I'll move forward. Docker Desktop is only available for Windows and Mac. For Linux, you need to type commands. So there are no such dedicated window with beautiful graphical interface. In Linux, you have to type commands. Hans said no for me. Okay, Hans, you don't want to see the onboarding process. This is pretty standard and straightforward process. You don't have to do anything special there. I'll clear it now. Okay. what I wanted to say is that in Linux you have to type commands. In Windows and Mac you can use the Docker desktop for some basic operations. Of course you can do that as well in Windows and Mac, of course. For example, you can type docker image list ls, docker image ls. This is a command that will list my available and downloaded images. Oof, I did a mistake in docker command. I type it with double K, which is not correct. Docker image ls, and I see the same thing as this screen. The name of the image, the latest tag, the image ID, when it is created, and the size. If I type docker container ls, I'll see this image, this menu, and so on and so forth. I can delete and start and stop containers from the desktop or from the command prompt. And I prepared some cheat sheet for you, Docker cheat sheet, that I'll paste right now. This is the cheat sheet. In this cheat sheet you can find the most common and the most used Docker commands. I'll open it to show you that. This is it. It is coming from the Docker, so it is an official cheat sheet, and here you can find the most common commands that you can execute and their simple explanation. So I'll copy this and I'll paste this in the chat so you can check it out if you wish. Okay, for me, what's happened? I guess I don't see everything in the chat. I see only some highlights. The full chat is hidden somewhere. Probably I should change. Let me show you what I'm doing. This is what I'm having right now, and probably I should change this from top chat to live chat. This poll should be ended. No, for me, Hans. Okay, I guess we are fine with the chat now. I send you the Docker cheat sheet and we can move forward. So that's it, guys. You don't want to see the onboarding process of Home Assistant. That's fine. You can see it on the other OSs. But now I have Windows. I have Home Assistant running inside Windows using Docker, and if I click few times here and if I type my username and password, I'll see the Home Assistant web interface, because this is now the onboarding wizard, but everything is working. And to open this, I just have to type localhost 8123 in my browser, or in any browser inside my local network, and I'll see the same screen. I can also type, for example, this is assistant.local, and again 8123, and this will open the same page. But because I'm currently having, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 different Home Assistant installation at home in my network, I am not sure what will I open. I opened something, but this is another instance of my Home Assistant. I'll close this. I don't want to confuse you. The best possible way is to open the IP and then colon 8123. So you have to find your Windows IP and to paste it. Then you have to type colon and port. The default port is 8123, and you see the Home Assistant web interface. The other option is to open Docker desktop, to go to containers, and to click on this link, which will open the same thing. We are done with the Home Assistant installation part inside Windows. Let's see what we have next. Where we are? Here, Demo 1, installation of Home Assistant container, latest version. And now it is time for the second poll. Where to go next? Do you want to see Linux or Mac? Let me create one poll for you guys. Start a poll. Linux or Mac? Vote in the chat, please. In 1 second. Linux, Mac. Start poll. So you can vote whether to install Home Assistant inside Linux or inside Mac. I'll cover both of them, don't worry, but you can vote for what do you want to see next, Linux or Mac. And while we are waiting for the poll to finish, I want to show you this Home Assistant container comparison. I'll open this link for you and I want to show you this table. I'll zoom it a bit. Oof, this is pretty much, that's better. I'll zoom it a bit. Is it visible? I hope it is. And inside this table we have 4 columns. These are the 4 official Home Assistant installation types. So you can install Home Assistant officially and in supported way using one of these 4 ways. Home Assistant OS, this is the most popular installation type. As you saw it, everything is included here. You have automation, dashboards, integration, add-ons, blueprints, one-click updates, and backups. Everything is here. But there are some drawbacks, let's say that. Simply, I now say nothing more. The second method, the second most popular method is Home Assistant container, the one that we are currently discussing and showing. We have some limitations here. For example, there are no add-ons inside Home Assistant if you install Home Assistant that way. And the other drawback, or not drawback, but I don't know what to say. The other thing that you have to have in mind if you install Home Assistant using this method is there is no one-click update. In this Home Assistant OS, when there is an update, let me show you. Currently this one is updated, but when there is an update, you can see it right here in the updates menu, and you can click on this update and you can update the Home Assistant to the latest version with just few clicks, which is very convenient. But this is not the case with Docker container. I will show you later how to update. Where is my table? Here it is. I'll show you later in this live stream how to update Home Assistant to the latest version with not with one click, but with few clicks and one command. And it is not rocket science. You see that. So with container version you don't have add-ons and you have to put some efforts, minor efforts, to update your installation. Also, backups are possible but are kind of limited. Let me show you that. We have summary mark here, numbered with 3. And I'll read this Home Assistant Core and Home Assistant Container. So this is valid for both core installation method and container, our installation method that are currently discussing. Home Assistant Core and Home Assistant Container can create backups via the user interface, but they need to be manually restored. So you can create a backup, but you cannot restore it easily. You have to manually restore it, which is not a big deal. And the other remark here is backups for Home Assistant Core and Home Assistant Container are either a tool to migrate to Home Assistant OS or a completely manual restore of the backup. So you can use these backups to migrate to Home Assistant OS, or you can manually use this backup to restore your Home Assistant container setup. And finally, we have the last container is Docker inside, Home Assistant inside Docker. Core is Home Assistant inside Python virtual environment. They're kind of more or less similar in their limitations, and the final official installation method is called supervised. It has everything, but you have to take care of the host operating system. You have to manually update it, and here in the Home Assistant OS everything is included. That's the differences between the four official installation types of Home Assistant, and I wanted to show you that, so in that way you will be informed what you are installing and what are your limitations. If you need more info, I have a free of charge Home Assistant webinar, and you can register for that webinar following this link, automatelike.pro/webinar. I'll paste it in the chat, or you can use your smartphone camera and you can scan this QR code. It will lead you to the same page. Where is my chat? Where is my chat? Here it is. Oof. No, I wanted to paste only the link, but I paste the whole text. How is that possible? Copy. Sorry for that, guys. Please use this link instead. automatelike.pro/webinar. This is where you can register for my Home Assistant webinar. It is free of charge. And inside this webinar, I'll discuss in details the pros and cons of the different Home Assistant installation types. And I'll share one super simple way to get started with Home Assistant in under 5 minutes on a PC. So if you open this link, you see this page, and you have to type your name and email, and you have to click on this watch free webinar, and you enter inside the webinar room. Doing so, you also register for my newsletter, and you receive my offers, updates, and we will be in touch that way. Of course, if you don't like my offers and my newsletter, you can unsubscribe below every email. Actually, at the very bottom of every email that I sent you, there is an unsubscribe link. If you click there, you unsubscribe and you will not hear a word from me anymore. I guess that's fair enough, and I can continue forward with the next demonstration. But first, let me quickly check the poll results. Where is the poll? Here it is. Ooh, Linux is the winner by knockout here. 91% versus 9%. So you don't want to see Mac version. Okay. Fine. Let's move on then. Let's move on. I'll open this is Windows. This is my notes, and this is Linux. This is actually a Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 gigs of RAM, and inside and on this Raspberry Pi 5 I installed Raspberry Pi OS, which is a Debian derived Linux. In other words, this is a Debian Linux, kind of. The installation of Docker inside Linux can be a bit different depending on your distribution. So if you're running Debian, the installation is you have to do it one way. If you're using Fedora or I don't know, something else, the installation is a bit different. But if you're having Linux, you probably know that, because Linux is a bit of a geeking story. You not the beginner, let's say it like that, the beginners are not using Linux most of the times. Only the moderate or advanced users are using Linux, because it still have some steep learning curve, let's say it like that. So what I did until now, in advance, because if I had to install Linux, if I had to install Docker inside this Linux, this presentation will be too long, and I don't want to do that. If you insist, I can make another live session to show you how I install Docker inside this Linux. But in essence, what I did is I also opened docker.com website. Come on. Why the enter is not working, I'm not sure. I connected to this Raspberry Pi using VNC protocol, and this is something like remote desktop but for Linux. And now I will be able to, do you see that? Yes. This is the docker.com website. Get out of here. And down here, oh, the mouse is very sensitive, sorry for that. Down here, come on, I want a bit down. Down here I can see this big blue button, and if I hover my mouse on it, I can see the available options. I have download for Windows, AMD, ARM, and here on the last spot or slot I have download for Linux. And if I click here, I can see the instructions, and these instructions are very detailed, and the supported platforms are Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, Fedora, and so on and so forth. I follow the Debian installation. Come on, this is very sensitive for some reason. I follow these instructions. Install Docker Desktop on Debian, because, as I said, Raspberry Pi OS is a Debian derivate. And because I'm using 64 bits of Raspberry Pi OS, I saw somewhere here that go to Debian installation instructions, and that's it. So I did the following to install Docker here. I didn't install GNOME terminal because I already have this. The default graphical interface of Raspberry Pi is GNOME, so I didn't execute these steps, but I executed the following. I executed this one. I copy and pasted all this text in my terminal. I opened one terminal. From here, this is by default visible on my taskbar, and I pasted the commands here. This command, I copy this and I paste it here. Then I copy and paste this part, and finally I copy it and pasted this command. And that's it. These are the steps that I executed before this live stream to have Docker. And now if I type Docker in my terminal, I can see some results. Because I have Docker up and running, I can try to run this demo container hello world, but instead of that I'll just run Home Assistant. And basically these are the steps to start Docker inside Linux. There are no fancy graphical interface dashboard here for Docker, but the functionality is the same. If I type docker container ls I did a typo, container ls. Oof, I should execute sudo first to elevate my privileges. Docker container ls. I should see that I have no containers at the moment in my Docker. If I do the same for images, I'll probably see the same image. Oh, I have the, oh yes, I did some tests and I actually downloaded the latest stable version of Home Assistant. So I have this image downloaded on my computer, but I can delete it like that. Actually, I'll become a root user because I don't want to type sudo all the time. Sudo su should be enough. Yes, now you can see that my prompt, I don't know it is visible very well, but my prompt now is a hash and I'm a root, I'm administrator now, and I can do whatever I wish with my Linux. And if I type docker image remove, and if I copy and paste the image ID, I'll remove my image. This command is available in the cheat sheet that I sent you earlier. So you can get this command from there. It is one of the basics commands that can be used to remove images and containers. So if I type again the same command, come on, docker image ls, I will see that I don't have any images right now. And let's continue forward. Let's install, I'll move this desktop here, that's better. I'll open my presentation and my backup slides, and this one is the one I wanted to see. I have to create a folder. This time I'll remember that. I have to create one empty folder somewhere in my Linux, and this empty folder will be used to store my Home Assistant configuration files, and my folder will be where I'm not right now. Okay, I'm currently inside root. This is the home folder of root user, and inside root folder I'll create one empty folder named HA, for example. I can do that with this command mkdir and the name of the folder. And now if I list the folders, I'll see it there. And if I enter inside this folder and if I type pwd, I'll see the full path to that folder, which is root HA. And I'll use this full path in my Docker command. I'll copy it. Actually, copy and pasting is not working here between this tight VNC and my MacBook. So I guess I have to use, what I have to use? Probably I have to open the Home Assistant web page, official web page, and I'll get the docker run command from there. Let's try that way. homeassistant.io is the official Home Assistant web page. I'll click on getting started. Installation Linux. Very sensitive mouse I have here. I have to be very careful. Come on. VirtualBox. I don't want VirtualBox. I want Docker. Where it is? Where is the Docker installation? I guess it is not here. Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi operating system. operating system is not the installation type that I want instructions for right now. No, where it is? I guess I have it somewhere here. Home Assistant container. What I want to do right now is to copy this command because it is very big. To copy this command and to paste it inside my Linux terminal, but I'm having some trouble, some difficulties, because copy and pasting is not working from here, from my main operating system to this remote desktop. So I want to find other system. Come on. Okay, I need to installation Linux, and then installation Linux, install Home Assistant container, and then hashtag install, sorry for that, install Home Assistant container. Let's try that way. I found it, but I don't see the... Here it is. Okay, the main issue was my mouse. It is very sensitive and I skipped this important command. This is what I wanted to get, docker run command, and I'll copy it and I'll adjust it to my needs. I'll copy and I'll paste it right here in the terminal. And now I'll start from the beginning. Can I move a bit faster? Yes, I can. Good. I'll go to the very beginning of this docker run -d. It is essentially the same command that I used inside my Windows, but with few differences, and I'll show you where are these differences. The first thing is the name. This is the name of the container. It can be anything, as I showed you before. I'll name it HA 2024 .5. So this is the version from May this year. Next, I have this privileged option, which is basically saying the Docker container is having the same right as the host operating system. So this is a privileged execution of this privileged. This container is have privileged rights. In other words, this container can do and can access everything that the host operating system is having access to. So if the host operating system is having access to your local network, the container will have the same access, and so on and so forth. This is basically it. Then we have restart unless stop. This is pretty standard. The Docker container, the Home Assistant container, will be up and running until you manually stop it. That's it. And if you restart your home, if you restart your Linux, and the Docker is automatically started, the Home Assistant container will be automatically started as well. My time zone, as I said before, you have to enter your correct time zone here, and you can find yours in the link that I send you in the chat from the Wikipedia. So I'll type here Europe, Sofia, and then I have path to your config folder. This is going to be deleted, and instead of this I'll type my root /HA, and the rest is staying the same. The column /config is staying the same. This is a mapping, as I said before. Config folder inside Home Assistant container will be mapped to this empty folder that I created earlier. And inside this empty folder, after the Docker container of Home Assistant is started, I'll see the configuration files of Home Assistant, and I can edit them from there. And this part is for Bluetooth devices. So if you plan to insert Bluetooth dongles inside this Raspberry Pi, you need to have this row, otherwise it is not needed. And this is operating system specific. You don't need such switch for Windows, but for Linux and Mac you need this network host. And again we have the URL to the Home Assistant image. Again, at the last part I can type either latest, which will get me the latest Home Assistant version, or stable. This will get the latest stable version. Most of the time the latest and the stable version are the same, but they can be different. Or I can type beta, or I can type a specific version, for example 2024.5. Let's see what I have in my notes, what I plan to install for this beta or specific version. Live demo installing a specific Home Assistant version. Okay, so we'll stick to this 2024.5. That will install the image from May this year, 2024 May. And if I hit enter, the Docker will start downloading the image. Good evening, Kirill. Nice to see you. Do a live. Good evening, G Bell. And while we are waiting, I can check the chat. Mr. Something. Sorry, I cannot read your name right now because I'm using one iPad here and the script is very tiny. I don't want to mistake your name, to spell wrong your name. Do you always install with Docker? No, not at all, but I use it a lot in my videos. My production Home Assistant is on Home Assistant OS. I also have Home Assistant supervised for test purposes, and I use a lot of Docker installations to test something and to shoot a video and then scrap everything and begin from scratch. Docker is perfect for such task because there is no harm on your host operating system. You can remove everything without a trace if you need to. You just have to type docker image remove and the name of the image or the ID of the image, and then you have to remove container and no trace of Home Assistant or the other software that is installed using Docker. And Docker is perfect for such a task. If you want to spin a Home Assistant version quickly, use Docker. If you want to test something, use Docker. If you want to use it for production, for your main Home Assistant, for your main smart home hub, use Docker. No problem about it. If you don't need add-ons, Docker is a perfect solution to start and to dip your toes in the water of Home Assistant and smart home. And while we are talking, the Docker command is finished. Everything is downloaded and I can see my prompt. And if I type docker, I will reverse my last commands, docker image ls, I'll see that I have the 2024.5 image downloaded. on my computer, and it is created 5 months ago, and its size is 1.54 gigabytes. Wait a minute. The Docker image from 5 months ago was 1.5 gigabytes, and now the image is 2.7 gigabytes. Guys, the Home Assistant is growing. This is double the size. Let me double check that. It's kind of interesting to me. I'll open the Docker, come on, Docker desktop dashboard inside my Windows, and I'll go to images, and currently, look at here, guys. Currently the size of this image is 2.76 gigabytes, and 5 months ago the image of Home Assistant was only 1.5 gigabytes. So be careful. What storage are you using for your smart home and for Home Assistant, because the things are constantly growing. So let's continue. This is my Docker image command result, and if I type docker container ls, I'll see, let me expand this a bit. That's better. I can even expand it more, I guess, yes. And I can see my container ID. I can see the image that this container is using, exactly as defined in the docker run command. I can see when this container is created 2 minutes ago. The current status is up, which is perfect. That means I can try to open the web address of Home Assistant and the port, and the name of the container is this one. Let's try to open it. This is my browser. I'll type localhost colon 8123 as a port, same as with the Windows. And whew, I thought that I saw an error first, but afterwards it was refreshed, and I see the welcome screen of Home Assistant, which is perfect. I can change the name here, the language. I can go check the help page, I can join the community, I can read our vision, and I can download the Home Assistant companion app. Or, the most important thing, or I can create my smart home by clicking on this big button. Do you want to see how I will create my smart home right now? Please type in the chat again. Do you want to finish the onboarding process of Home Assistant? Type simple yes or no in the chat. Do you want to see it? If you want to see it, type yes. If you don't want to see it, type no. Simply as that. What else I can show you about Linux? Let me try to open, let me see if I can check my IP. If config, I constantly IP config. IP. I want to see my IP of this. If config was the correct. If config, and this is, yes, this is my IP. So this is the local IP of this Linux machine. It is 10.0.0.32. And if I open my Windows or my Mac, it doesn't matter, which is in the same network, this is my Windows, and if I open a new tab, and if I type 10.0.0.32.8123, I should see eventually, come on, don't fail me. No, we have some issues here. Why? I don't know. Oh, it was very slow. I don't know why. But the end result is success, because I opened, probably because I didn't finish the onboarding process, I don't know. But the main point here was that I was able to open my Docker installation of Home Assistant inside my Linux from my Windows, which is another PC, and I can open my web page from different devices and it works okay. Jibo is saying yes. Thank you, Jibo. Thank you, thank you. You said yes, so let's see the onboarding process. I'll clear your yes for now, and I'll open Linux or Windows. Let's try with Linux because we are currently talking about Linux. Create my smart home, but this is not very good visible, or it is. It is with a bigger font here, so I'll stay here. My name is Kirill. My username will be Kirill with small k, and I will type a password which will be subscribe. Did I type it correctly? Yes. And I'll type it again. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that if you wish to. And I'll create my account. My home location is Amsterdam. No, it is not Amsterdam, but I'll not enable location services. I don't want to do that right now. I'll click next. My country is Bulgaria. Come on, Why my keyboard is not working over the remote typed VNC desktop? I don't know. Never mind. I'll scroll until I found Guatemala. No, I'm not in Guatemala. Very, very sensitive mouse. Sorry for that. Bulgaria. Here it is. Next. Here is the page where you can opt in for the anonymized information, and you can share your anonymized information with Home Assistant crew. I showed you in the beginning of the stream that there is a site called analytics.homeassistant.io where you can check some anonymous statistics, and if you opt in here, your installation will be visible there. Of course, just some basic parameters like what's your version, what's your installation type, and probably that's it. Or what you can check this page and you see what you are sharing with the guys. I always enable this because I want to help, but you can disable these switches, and you cannot share this usage, statistical data, diagnostics, and basic analytics with the Home Assistant crew. I will share them, and immediately my Home Assistant found a lot of things in my home, but this is just an information screen only. In the past, it was possible to configure them right away, but now you can only see. I found something, look what I can do. And you can only see that. You cannot click on any on this, but you can click on finish. And the site can be reached. What happened? I don't know. Let's try to open it one more time. That was a big fail. I haven't seen such thing before. Nevertheless, this is my login screen, and if I type my username and my password, which is subscribe, I can enable keep me logged in, and yes, it even added automatically this temperature sensor and my WLAD device that is currently on, and I can disable it. Yes, I can see it outside, and now it is disabled. Now it is enabled. I can change the color of this device. Oh, it is disabled now. Yes, now it is orange. Now it is blue. Yes, it is working. So this is Home Assistant. The screen is not very good. The resolution here is not best, but I guess at least it is visible in the live stream. This is a remote desktop and the resolution here is not optimal. I connected from my MacBook to this Linux machine and the resolution was 720p or something like that. And this is it, Home Assistant. I have some updates warning, I have notifications here, and everything I need. Energy section, logbooks. This is another universe, and you can dive deep inside it. I'm doing this constantly, and I like it a lot. So this was it. This was the onboarding process of Home Assistant. And we can move to the next slide, which is, we just finished demo 2. I just demonstrated how to install Home Assistant inside Linux. Do you like that? Please type yes or no in the chat. That will be very helpful. I guess there is some slight delay because I see your messages with 30 seconds or more delay. So no problem. Let's continue forward. One more thing before we continue. I have a smart home glossary. Probably you know about it, probably you don't. I'll just say a few words about it and I'll continue to the Mac version of our Mac installation of Docker. And let me quickly show you. I forgot to change the text. I copy and paste this slide from the webinar version, but never mind. I have a smart home glossary which is full of smart home acronyms, words and abbreviations. Are there simple explanations, simple but useful explanation. It is a big PDF file. It is free of charge. You can download it for free right now from this link. I'll copy and paste it in the chat right here. You can open it or you can scan this QR code with your phone. Start your camera's phone, point it at your screen and it will open the same page. Let me show you what you see there. You see my dump face and you'll be able to download the PDF. Again, you have to type your name, your first name and your email address. And once you click continue, you sign up for my newsletter, offers and updates, and you download the smart home PDF, smart home glossary PDF to your device. It is a very big PDF, probably, I don't know how many pages, but it is big. I recently updated it and I added more information inside. So if you have the older version, please download the newest one because it is much better. And that is my smart home glossary. Again, you will be subscribed to my newsletter, and again, you can unsubscribe with one click. You can find the unsubscribe button at the bottom of the emails that I'm sending, and if you click on them, you will not hear a word from me anymore. And with that being said, let's continue forward. We are now at demo 3, which is the last operating system, the last major operating system. We covered already the Windows part, the Linux part, and now my favorite part, because I'm a Mac user. I'm using Mac for, I don't know, probably more than 10 years already. Yes, more than 10 years. Before that I used a lot of Windows. and also Linux. But after I found Mac, I stayed there. I continue using Windows and Linux, but from time to time. Mac OS is a combination, the best of both worlds, in my opinion. You have the terminal, you have the freedom, you have the graphical interface, everything is there. I like it. I also like Windows, I also like Linux. I don't mind, but I like Mac the best. So I'm currently using Mac. I used Mac to connect remotely to Windows and Linux, as I showed you earlier, and inside Mac, the downloading of and installing of Docker is pretty simple. You have to go to docker.com. You see my screen? Yes. Then you have to hover on this download Docker desktop button, and you have to choose the correct version for your device. My device is having Apple Silicon processor, but there are Macs with Intel processor, so be careful what you choose here, because if you choose the wrong version, Docker will not work. And I downloaded the Apple version, then I installed the Docker as usual. No changes, you just have to drag and drop the Docker icon from one place to your application. It is very simple. If you install an app on Mac, the installation of Docker is exactly the same. And then I started. I'll start it again just to demonstrate you. I'll quit this currently running Docker. I'll quit it. And I'll start the Spotlight search with a shortcut, and I'll type Docker and I'll hit enter, and up here you see the whale icon with some containers on it, and the same important label here, engine is running in green. Exactly the same as it with Windows. I have containers and images and volumes and the same menu, the same structure. But this time I had a lot of, not a lot, but few images, few containers, because this is a working environment. I'm constantly using these Home Assistant, and not only Home Assistant containers, for my videos. And I have a lot of them. Probably I have to delete some of them because they are taking some space from my device. And of course I can do that from here, and I can do that from the terminal. Here is the macOS terminal. It is pretty similar to the terminal of Linux, but actually the commands are the same. So if I want to start Docker here, to start Home Assistant container here, to install it inside Docker, I should do the following. First, I have to double check that currently I don't have any container up and running, because if I had such a container, the port will be occupied and I will not be able to start another container on the same port. I have to change the default port, and I don't want to do that. And I don't have any running container of Home Assistant. Everything is with status exited, apart from this DB, but this is another thing. It is not related to Home Assistant at all, so I'm fine. Next thing is I have to create a folder. Currently I'm located in I'm in users Kirill Peyansky, and if I create one folder here, HA, actually not HA but CDHA and PW, this is the folder that I'm going to use. Users Kirill Peyansky /HA, and now I have to open my presentation because I have hints here. after my backup slides. This is the docker run command that I'm going to use. I'll copy and paste this in my terminal. And before I copy and paste this, I'll change exactly as before. I'll change few things and I'll explain them again. The name of the container can be defined here. I can type here anything. I'll name it HA just in case. The privileged tag makes the container with the same rights as the host operating system. The container will be always started unless it is manually stopped from the Docker desktop dashboard or from the command prompt. The container of Home Assistant will be always running. And the time zone, it is Europe, Sofia, because I'm currently living here. And you can find your time zone in this Wikipedia page. For example, if you are in Tunis, you have to type Africa, Tunis, like that, instead of Europe, Sofia. Where is my presentation? I'll leave that as it is. And volumes, these are the folder. This is the path to the empty folder that I just created. And inside this folder, the Home Assistant config files will be stored. And this is exactly what this switch is doing. It is mapping the config folder inside that is available inside the Docker container to this empty folder. In other words, just create one empty folder and get the full path to it and type it here. That's it, nothing more. The default port will be mapped. And this is happening here with this -p switch. And finally, I have a URL where the Home Assistant image is located. And instead of latest, stable, or specific version, I'll type beta. I'm using this a lot of times when there is a new release of Home Assistant. The guys are usually first releasing their beta versions, and if there are new features and if I want to test them in advance so I can make a video where I'm showing these features, I'm using this approach. I'm starting the beta version of Home Assistant with the newest features. I test them, I record my screen, and I share this info with you guys in my YouTube videos. So I'm using this a lot. And I'll copy this command and I'll paste it in my terminal right here. And I'll click enter. And the Docker container is up and running because it happens very fast, because I already downloaded. I have the latest beta image already downloaded on my MacBook, and until now, when I execute this docker run command, I didn't have the images, and the docker run downloaded these images from internet. Now I already have this image. It seems that I already have it, and the container is immediately started. If I type, for example, docker ps, I'll see the currently running containers, and Home Assistant Beta is one of them. It is created 42 seconds ago, and it seems that it is running. And if I try to open my localhost 8123, I will see the welcome screen. Good. That is how you can run Docker inside macOS using Docker. It is very easy. The steps are almost the same on all major operating systems. The Linux and Mac command is pretty much virtually the same. The Windows version is a bit different because of the different slashes that the operating system is using, but nevertheless the installation process is pretty similar, and it is easy, don't you think? Very easy. Ivan is saying nice. Yes, it is nice indeed, very nice actually. That way you can have Home Assistant up and running in few minutes. The most important part is to run Docker, and then you have to copy and paste few commands. That's it, guys, and you have Home Assistant up and running. And currently, let me show you something. I want to open the Linux installation, the Home Assistant that I install inside my Linux, and I'll go to Settings, About, and as you can see here, I have the latest version from May this year, because I said that I wanted the 2024.5 version to be installed, and here it is. I have that version. If I open, but I have to go through the onboarding process again. Let me quickly do that for you. All set. Not now. Nothing is found here, but nevertheless, if I go to Settings, About, I can see that I'm running 2024.10 beta 4 version, because I said get the latest beta, and this is the current latest beta version that is available at the moment inside Docker. Next month, or next week probably, beta version will be available of the 2024.11, and using the same commands I can get the latest beta version from 2024.11. And how can I update this Home Assistant if I need to? Let me show you that as well, guys, because I want to give you as much info as possible. Hope I managed to do that in a clear way. It is difficult for me because I didn't have a much of experience with live streams, but I'm practicing, so probably I'll become good at this at some point, but we will see. Nevertheless, I got distracted. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for joining me. What I wanted to show you is how to update your Home Assistant using Docker. Imagine the following scenario. You are getting the latest Home Assistant right now, but next month your Home Assistant is not up to date. There is a newer version and you want to have the newest, latest, greatest version. How you can do that? Simply, very simple. Depending on your operating system, the most bulletproof way is to use the following command. No matter are you using Windows, Linux or Mac, you have to copy and paste this command, docker pull this URL :latest. This will get the latest version of Home Assistant on your computer. And you can do that inside Windows command prompt, or inside Linux terminal, or inside macOS terminal. You can copy and paste this command there first. This is the first step, to download the latest image. If you're using Windows or Mac, you can use the Docker desktop application. So you can go to the images section, you can find the latest tag. Here it is. This is the latest image. Oh, this is MySQL. This is the Home Assistant latest image. It is currently in use. You have to click on these three dots here, overflow menu, and then you have to click on pull. And these clicks will do the same as this command. It will pull the latest image from internet of Home Assistant. If I do that right now, If I do that right now, let me see what will happen. If you already have the latest image, this command will do nothing. But if there is a new version, it will simply download it. Yes, my latest version was older than the current version, and it is start downloading it. But if I do that, the same command, if I do the same command inside my Windows, here I have the latest Home Assistant image. If I do the same thing here, nothing is happening. Image is up to date. Fair enough. So again, the first step is to download the latest image, either using this pull command or the Docker desktop. Then you have to stop your Docker container, and then you have to remove it. Again, you can use the Docker desktop for that. I'll show you both ways. Inside my Mac, I'll find the latest Docker container, which is this one. No, this one, latest, this one. Yes, this container was using the Home Assistant latest image, and I have to delete it now because I want to update this one. The name of the container is HA2024-07, but ignore that. I'll remove it from my I don't want to remove the others, just this one. I'll remove this container, I'll delete it. It was already stopped. If it was running like this one, I had to stop it first. Stop, that way. But because it was stopped already, I just deleted. This was the second step, the second and third step. So the first step was to pull the latest image. The second step was to stop the container, and the third step was to remove the container. I did that using the Docker desktop. If I didn't have this Docker desktop, I can use the following commands. Where are they? Docker pull, Docker stop, and then the name of the running container, and Docker remove, and then the name of the running container. After that, I have to execute the same Docker run command that I used in the beginning, and I'll have the latest version installed on my host operating system. I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, and I'll just click enter. Let me double check. No, I have to change the path here to users, to my folder that I'm using for this, Kirill Peyansky /HA. I think this was the name of my, this was the full path of my folder, and this is it. I'll hit, it doesn't like the formatting. Create run container from no such latest. It doesn't like the formatting because here is some strange space. Let's try that way. Now it's fine. It is working now. I hit enter here to make it well formatted, and I copy and paste this, but it is a mistake, and terminal is not liking these mistakes. So I corrected this, and now if I open my Docker desktop, I can see that HA container is running, and if I open it, what was my password here? It was K probably. Yes. Now Home Assistant is running, and if I check the version, I can see that before it was beta, the latest beta now is the 2024.10.3, which is the latest version of Home Assistant, and it is not beta. So this is how I can update my Docker, my Home Assistant inside Docker. It is very easy. You just have to store your Docker run command somewhere in your notes, in your notepad, in your anywhere. You have to store this command and to use it. But before you using this command, the same command that you initially run, you have to pull the latest image of Home Assistant. You have to stop and delete the existing container. This is not needed for our tasks right now. There is another method using Docker Compose, but this is another story. Ignore that. And after you stop and after you remove the existing Home Assistant container, you have to execute exactly the same command as before. So store this command somewhere and use it to update your Home Assistant installation. Simple as that. So you configure it once, you select the name of a container, you select your time zone, you create one empty folder where your configuration folder, where your Home Assistant configuration folder will be, and instead of stable you can put latest here, and you always have the latest Home Assistant at your disposal. That's it. Very, very easy. I hope I managed to understand it well. I forgot to clear the message of Ivan. I'll clear it right now. I should double check where I can, how to clear these chat messages. So that was how to update Docker inside Home Assistant, inside Docker. Oh, what I said. That is how to update Home Assistant running inside Docker. This is the whole process. These simple 4 steps. You can execute them via terminal, via command prompt, or you can execute them from the Docker desktop. At least the major part of them, this part, can be executed from the Docker desktop. That's it. What we have next, we are here, the biggest drawback, or maybe not, of Home Assistant container installation. Again, Home Assistant container installation type is Home Assistant that is running inside Docker. Simple as that. And what is the biggest drawback of this type of installation? It is very simple. You don't have add-ons. This is the biggest drawback. So if you have Home Assistant OS installation, this one, or Home Assistant supervised installation, add-ons are available. You can see them. If you go to settings, add-ons, here you can find add-ons, and you can find add-on store from where you can install add-ons with one click. For example, I want to install ESP Home. I'm clicking here, I'm clicking install. Currently it's saying update because I already installed that here. And in 1 minute I have ESP Home up and running inside my Home Assistant, which is very convenient, very well working. I like it and it can be used. But if I go to my Docker Home Assistant container installation, if I go to settings, I cannot see add-ons menu here at all. And that is one of the drawbacks of this type of installation. Everything else is fine. I can go to backups. Let's see the backups, because this is the other limitation. I can create a backup from here. This is Home Assistant container. It happens immediately. And I can download this backup, but I cannot restore it from here. I can delete it, I can download it. After I download it, I can restore it on another Home Assistant OS or on another Home Assistant container, but I cannot restore it from here. This is the other limitation of Home Assistant container version. Let's check the same on Home Assistant OS. If I go to settings, system, backups. I have a lot of backups here, but what I wanted to show is if I click on any of these backups, I can click restore and my system will be reverted to this snapshot for me automatically. I don't have to do anything else. I have to click on these check marks and I have to click on restore, and I'll have this restored to this snapshot. I can even go back to this one or this one. It doesn't matter. I can do that from the backups menu if I'm using Home Assistant OS. With Home Assistant Container, I can only download this backup and I can restore it either on inside Home Assistant OS or supervised or manually in another Home Assistant container installation. That is the other drawback. About the add-ons, it can be a drawback. The missing add-ons here, it can be a drawback, but it can be also a benefit, because using Docker I can start ESP Home in another container as well, and I can have it. So most of these add-ons that I'm having here, I can have them as well inside Docker. So I can install ESP Home inside Docker. I can install what else? Nginx inside Docker. I can install MariaDB inside Docker, and I'll have them, and I can configure my Home Assistant to use these add-ons, but it is not so automatic and I have to put some effort. So depending of what type of person you are, you may like that or you may not. You may like to tinker this, you may like to configure this everything manually, or you may want to just click and done. Everything will be up and running. So this can be seen as drawback or a pros, depending of what type of person you are. You can have everything inside Docker and you don't need add-ons, but you have to tinker a bit. You have to configure some things, and that can cause issues from time to time. It's a lot easier to have add-ons, but add-ons are not a must. So this is the biggest drawback of Home Assistant Container. And now you can ask me some questions. Let's test this. Let's open the chat here and say something. Q&A. Ask me anything related to this topic, of course, because if I know the answer, I'll say it. I'll answer, but I'm not a Docker expert at all. I'm not a Docker guru. I know only the basic. So let's see this Q&A. How it is working. I'm starting this for the first time, so sorry for that. I just start a Q&A session. What it is? Please type something in this Q&A session so we can see how it is working. I guess we have a delay here, so you're seeing this with 30 seconds delay or something like that. Basically what we covered today, we are almost 2 hours are almost past, so this was a long stream, I guess. So do you have any questions? Type something in the chat. Type something in the chat so we can see how this is working, or is it working at all? I don't see anything actually. If I type something by myself, what will happen? I don't know. Hello? No. How this is working, I am not sure. Oh, we have something. Hans is saying, what is saying? ESP Home and DuckDNS are important add-ons for me. How do I install them inside Docker? Good question. Very good question. Let me show you. DuckDNS it is a tricky one, but ESP Home it is very easy. DuckDNS is having some integration. It is not only DuckDNS, it is having, if I remember correctly, also SSL certificates from, what was the authority? I forgot the name. But this is a tricky one. DuckDNS is a tricky one. I never started DuckDNS inside a Docker container so far. But let me show you what I know. If you open hub.docker.com, I'll paste this in the chat. Where is the chat? If you open this web page, you will find the different images, all images that are available for Docker installation. For example, let's search for ESP Home here. This is it. This is the ESP Home Docker Hub web page. And this is the documentation. These are the tags. Again, we have def, actually latest, stable, and so on and so forth. So if I copy this, I have a, basically you can get the docker pull command and you can copy and paste it inside your terminal or command prompt, and you have the latest or whatever you wish ESP Home image downloaded to your computer. Let's see what will happen. But apart from pulling, you have to create a container, because this one will only pull the image of the ESP Home. Afterwards, you have to create a container similarly to the way how the Home Assistant container is created. And the best way how to install using command line is in migrating command line. Let's try that way. Yes, this is how you can install ESP Home inside Docker. You have to pull the image like we did. Then you have to create a Docker compose. Actually, this is the other method to use Docker. You create one compose file, one text file. You paste the config here inside this Docker compose file, and finally you type docker compose up. Docker is having two ways of running containers. One of it is this Docker run that we discussed until now. The other is this Docker compose. Basically, they are the same, but the procedure is a bit different. So let's try this. I'll copy this. I'm not guaranteed that this will work, because you have to read a bit. You have to follow these instructions. I'm doing this ad hoc, and I'm not reading these installation steps. So it is a shot in the dark. It may work or it may not. It depends. So I'll create one Docker compose.yaml file or .yml file, and inside Docker compose I'll paste this text that I have from here, from the official ESP Home installation page. Path to ESP Home config, I'll have to change that. To users. I'll create one empty folder, Kirill Peyansky, and ESP home. I'll open another tab here. This is an improvised version. Make dir ESP home, cd ESP home pwd. Yes, this is the full path. I just created one empty folder, and I'll type this empty folder here. This is the image, this is the container name, this is the mapping of the volumes. Restart is always, privileged is true, network mode is host, and I have a username test and password change me. Okay, let's try this. Let's try. I'll save the changes, and now I have one docker compose.yaml file. Where it is? I created it inside Home Assistant folder, so I'll move this file, move HA, where am I? Move HA, docker compose, no, sorry for that. I'll enter inside the ESP home folder, and I'll move the HA docker compose to this folder. Now, yes, now we have this docker compose.yaml inside this users Kirill Peyansky ESP home empty folder. And now I have to type docker compose up. And if the content of this file is correct, it will create a container for me, and it will start ESP home. And it seems that it is started on this port 6052. Let's try to open it. Localhost 6052. No, nothing is happening. Come on, why? Probably because I didn't read the whole manual. I have to do that when I test it, but I guess something is wrong with my network, and here instead of these zeros I have to have a real IP. But because I don't have this real IP, I cannot open the port. But this is the process, guys. This is how you can start ESP home or any software inside Docker. you go to this hub.docker.com, you search for your software, you open the page of this software inside Docker Hub, you check the manual, and you execute the steps. That's it. You have to read the manual, but I don't have the time to read it right now. Probably I have to add something more inside this Docker Compose file. I am not sure what it is. Probably it is something about network. I don't know. What is my IP? Let's try with the IP. My current IP is 108. Let's try that way, but it is the same. No. I did a mistake. Without this dot, no, I cannot open the ESP home dashboard because something is wrong with my Docker Compose. I don't know what. It seems that the container is running right now, but I don't like this IP. I don't like it. But nevertheless, this is how you can run any software. What happened? HTTP 6052 was probably, no, it is not working. Nevertheless, this is how you can install software inside Docker. You're going to Docker Hub web page. Let's search for DuckDNS here, just to check what it is. DuckDNS, and there is nothing. Probably this is the best one because it has over 100 million downloads. So this is a good indicator that this one is a good Docker image. We have some derivatives here with some flavors. You can check them all if you're serious about what you want to do. This is coming from linuxserver.io and it have a good documentation. It can be run on ARM and Intel and AMD processor, and everything is described here. You can try to run it, but essentially you have to download this image and you have to create a container that is using this Docker image, and for that you have to read the documentation and to follow these prerequisites, this usage. This is how you can create a Docker compose, a recommended way. This is the Docker run command. So here you have both options. For the ESP home you have as example only the Docker compose option. Here you have them both. This is the Docker run -d that we used for our Home Assistant installation. We have a name of the container, we have a network, we have some PUIDs, we have some folder mapping again, we have the restart unless stopped, and we have the latest image that is going to be downloaded. All parameters are described here. You can read it and you can understand what you need or don't need, and how to customize it for your requirements. So this is how you can run anything inside Docker. It is not easy, let's say it like that. It is not easy to run it first time, but once you run it, it is super easy to maintain it. You just have to store this Docker run command, or you just have to store this Docker compose file somewhere, and you can reuse it all the time to update your software afterwards. It is very easy, so you have to put some efforts in the beginning to configure the container correctly for your needs, and afterwards everything is easy. And after you do that for several things, this is becoming very easy. This is becoming an intuitive task for you. Let me check what is happening. How I can install Coral. I cannot see the chat. Coral TPU probably on Docker. Good question. Very good question, Ivan Pezenti. I will show you how you can install USB drives inside Docker. By default, Bluetooth is enabled, as I showed you. If you have a Bluetooth dongles, they will be discovered. But if you have a different dongle, like a Zigbee dongle or Z-Wave dongle or Coral TPU dongle, you have to follow, you have to add additional parameters inside your Docker run command. I don't have Coral TPU and I never use it, but I know that it is very good for softwares like Frigate and so on and so forth. This is the section that is helpful. Docker exposing devices. In order to use Zigbee or other integrations that require access to devices, you need to map the appropriate device into the container. So in your Docker run command, you have to include something like that: --device, the device name inside your device folder and where it is mapped. So ensure that user that is running the container has the correct privileges to access def TTY file, and then add the device mapping to your container as instructed below. So this is how you can add devices like Zigbee devices, like other USB devices, like Z-Wave devices. You have to find your device in your host operating system. This is a Linux syntax, so if you go to my Linux, and if I go to my terminal, and if I list if I list this folder, the content of this def folder, I can see a lot of TTY devices, and if I have a USB stick inserted in my Raspberry Pi that is running this Linux, I will see this device listed here, and I will have to expose this device to my Docker container, and to expose this device I have to include this switch in my Docker run command. If I'm using Docker Compose, this was the other method that we didn't cover in details in this live stream. I just tried at the end for the ESP Home, but it didn't work. If you use the Docker Compose, you have to include these two rows in your Docker Compose. So this is how to expose your Core TPU. Once your Core TPU is exposed inside Home Assistant, you can do what you're doing now with it. You can use it to detect objects on your cameras and stuff like that, and to run Frigate on it. If you search for Frigate software inside Docker Hub, you will probably find it as well. Let's try to search it. Frigate. This is one of the most popular Core TPU softwares. If there is another one, please share it. But I know about it and I use it. I also used one more software, Dudes, called Dudes. I'm not sure is it still available. I'll clear this. Yes. So Frigate, 5 million copies, 5 million downloads, updates 2 years ago. Whoa, this is not good. This is not updated. And we have another images. This is coming from some user, I believe. It is updated 7 days ago, 10 months ago. This is having 6,000 downloads. So I guess you have to check them one by one, and you have to try them. But almost anything is available inside Docker. You can run almost anything, and if you put the effort once to make the container right, you can reuse it endlessly afterwards. It is a beautiful software. I like it a lot. And I'm open for your other questions. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat, not in the command prompt. I'm crazy already. I'm a bit tired. But nevertheless, if you have more questions, type it in the chat. I'll try to answer. If I know the answer, I'll say it. If not, I'll point you somewhere. Hope that will help you again. Do we have anything in my, let's see, my hints, my presentation? I promised to share this presentation with you. I will upload it somewhere on Google Drive, and I'll put the link in this live stream video description so you can get the link from there. Please download the Smart Home Glossary that I'm having. Please watch the webinar that I'm having. You can get them from these links, automatelike.pro/glossary and automatelike.pro/webinar. You can also scan the QR codes and you have the same result. What else? We covered everything. These are the useful links. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you as well. I have few articles and videos about Docker, and they're available on my website pejansky.com. Let's see it. And you can, it is basically the same thing that we discussed in this live stream, and it is very detailed. This is this is how to run Home Assistant inside Windows. I'll paste this in the chat if you want to check it out. Same thing that we did today, but described in an article. Of course, I have a YouTube video tutorial showing the same thing. You can watch it here. So this is the link. I'm not sure, did I manage to paste it? Did I paste it? I'm not sure. I'll end this Q&A because I'm not seeing everything. Oh, now I'm seeing more of the chats. Hans was saying something. Thank you very much, Kirill. No. Ooh, I didn't saw these messages. Sorry for that. I'm seeing them right now. I guess I was seeing only few of them for unknown to me reasons. Now I'm seeing more of them. Maybe because of this top chat and live chat settings that is available. I'm not sure. So, nevertheless, this is my article about how to install Home Assistant inside Windows. It is the same. The steps are the same that we covered today, but you can use this to help you run your Home Assistant inside Windows. And the other link that I want to share as well with you is this. This is my other article about Docker and Home Assistant, an article and video, of course. I'll share this as well in the chat. Here, paste. So this is how you can start Home Assistant on where? On macOS probably, yes, on macOS and Linux, because macOS and Linux are virtually the same. This is how you can start Home Assistant inside macOS and Linux. So the first link is for Windows, the second link is for macOS and Linux. And this is step-by-step instructions how to do that. We did it live in front of you, together with you. And if you forgot some of the steps, please use these articles and these videos. Where is my video? This video right here, to start Home Assistant and to start playing with it. If you have Home Assistant already, use this approach. Test it as a test environment. Start another Home Assistant as test environment. Break it, update it, restore it. Just enjoy the ride. I'm not seeing more questions. And I want to thank you. That you stayed with me till the end. I'm very, very thankful to have you here, guys. This was my second live stream inside YouTube. I plan to do more streams in the future. I enjoy these streams a lot because I can interact with you. Otherwise, I create some videos and articles and I receive some comments, but it is not the same. It is offline. But now everything is live, in real time. And I like it. If you like it as well, please follow me somewhere. The best way is in my newsletter. because I'm sending there some exclusive information. If you sign up for my newsletter using these links, my webinar, my glossary, I'll show them on my screen. If you sign up, you'll receive some private information, because I'm planning a lot of things there. If you follow me inside YouTube, you probably missed that, because this will be only valid for my mail subscribers. I'm preparing something very big, but I cannot say anything until now, because it is not ready, and it is useless to disclose anything, because it is not in real shape yet. But I'm working hard on it, and it will be probably only exclusively available for my mail subscribers, not for my Twitter subscribers, not for my Instagram subscribers, not for my TikTok subscribers, not for my YouTube subscribers, only for my mail subscribers. So if you want to get there, use this QR code, use this link to subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll keep you informed about my latest videos, latest articles, and my latest projects that are upcoming. Thank you one more time. It was a pleasure to have you here. I'm Kirill, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Now I have to end this stream, but I don't know how. Last time I ended it somehow, and the software was continue streaming 2 hours after.